Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about nights 9 and 10 of the G1, which were something to say the least, especially when it comes to night 10, but without wasting any time, let's just jump right in. So the first match of these two nights were Shota Umino versus Chase Owens, and commentary mentioned how Chase is so good at setting the pace in his matches, which is true, but it's also a really bad thing when you're watching it. There was a great looking package pile driver counter from Shota to get the win, and I'm glad that they put this match on first, so just like in this video, we can just zoom right through. Match number 2, we have Yoshihashi versus Taichi, and this was a very solid match that wasn't really focused on chain wrestling or reversals, but rather who could hit the hardest, and it worked because of how good their stuff looked. Even within the first 5 minutes of this match, both guys were just selling their injuries throughout this G1, and it honestly made the match even better because it's just two guys throwing themselves into all their offense, and that's just a recipe for success every time. The thrust kick in a Black Mephisto to end the match was really cool looking, and I mentioned how in the last video Taichi's kick-based offense just looks so cool, and that was honestly why. He's been on a great run, Yoshi's been on a great run. This was a great match, very enjoyable. You guys know how much I love these young guy matches, and I love this match. Kaito walked out in a headlock from Gabe, which was getting us right into it, as all Gabe matches go. He wastes no time with just beating the shit out of his opponent. The early forearm exchange that they were having, they were just going so fast and just so hard. It set the tone for this match as a whole. Gabe Kidd continues to not enjoy furniture and people sitting in it, so if you're around furniture, as I've warned before, you're going to have to get out of that chair because Gabe Kidd is throwing himself or the opponent into it. And I liked it when Kaito tried to get him in the ring to start the match. Gabe stopped himself just so he could cheat a little bit more, and then hit Kaito with a huge headshot that just looked so tough because it was unprotected, and it looked so rough. This match was all about Gabe kicking Kaito's ass after he beat him on the outside like that. That headshot kind of just threw Kaito off for the whole thing. He had it won as they sold it, and then Gabe kind of let his hubris get the better of him and pulled Kaito up so he couldn't get the win. Because as he said, he was having a fucking blast kicking his ass, and right after he set Kaito up on the top rope and pushed him off onto the apron, and it was a nasty looking bump. It just looked so awful, but it looked really good at the same time, like, you know what I mean? Gabe is an absolute killer though. He continued kicking Kaito's ass throughout the entire match, even shutting down like all of his adrenaline spikes that Kaito would get. Gabe just kicked him as hard as he could. He even started to destroy him in the corner with these like knees and strikes that were just so crisp and so clean. You honestly felt the force while you were watching. It just like, he's just a killer. It's awesome. It's so cool to see him wrestle when he's like that. Towards the end of the match, a switch just flipped and Kaito started bringing out that fucking dog in him. He let that absolute fire out, and it was so fucking dope. He was bashing Gabe's chest in on the outside. He was spitting on him, and it was so cool to see someone who kind of fights with like a reserved sense of, you know, like respect, just bring that fucking fire out. That was so sick. It made this match for me. They then moved into the crowd and just continued trying to take each other's heads off, eventually getting double counted out, which I know some people didn't really like, but I loved it just because they continued at the same pace. They didn't change a thing when the bell rang, and they just continued to not hear anything at all and just continued kicking each other's ass. It was so dope, and the crowd ate it up because just like me, they love a little bit of violence like that in their wrestling, and just the fact that they were so focused on beating each other's ass kind of just sold this shit for me. It was awesome. I always say I love this shit so much. These two wrestlers have become some of my favorite to watch. I love them both. Like, Kaito is so proved that he's the guy. Gabe has proved he's the guy this G1, and I'm so excited for the rematch down the line because this was so good, and it sets up like this potential career-long rivalry between the two. It was just incredible stuff. This was awesome. This next match was the most by-the-numbers match you could ever imagine, and I found myself getting pretty distracted during the match. Okan hasn't been bad this G1, and Loa has been like, he's had his moments, but, you know, it's just tough following a match like Gabe and Kiyomiya because it was pretty nothing. But, you know, it wasn't bad. It was just a lot of nothing, so not much to say. Yota Tsuji versus Hikuleo. Hikuleo was at his best here. He used his big man shit to perfection against Tsuji, who did a great job of selling it and making it look so big time because of how fast he is. And I honestly think that's exactly what a guy like Hikuleo needs. It's just a larger dude who'll run full sprint into your shit, because then you have moments where he cut off the spear with like that big head kick that looked awesome. It looked great. It was probably one of my favorite moments from a Hikuleo match. It was the most memorable one to me. Like, yeah, Yoda made him look so good here. Aside from the winner not being the person that I'd pick, I thought this was Hikuleo's best match of the G1 and the best match I've seen from him. It still wasn't great, but it was the best one. And of course, it's with one of these young musketeers who always prove every single time that they have it. El Phantasmo versus Kenta, was it really a match? I don't think so, but I thought it was pretty enjoyable. It took place mostly on the outside, and I know that won't be everyone's cup of tea, and not everybody's going to enjoy that, but I did because it felt like a nice change of pace compared to what we've seen like throughout this entire G1. ELP was on his crazy shit. He hit this crazy dive from the ring post to the outside that was just insane. He always hits a crazy dive every match. He also hit Kenta with a nasty looking kendo stick shot, and I don't know like how that doesn't hurt because you could see it like bend off his head, and it was like pretty unprotected. I mean, there has to be some way around it, but it looks super fucking cool. During the closing stretch of the match on the outside, Kenta DDT'd ELP on the ring announcer's table, and that looked brutal because the table just stiffed his ass and stayed completely still. But this set up the finish where ELP actually stole one from Kenta with a roll-up that I really like because I enjoy the good guy beating up the, like, winning against the bully, you know? Especially when the good guy is doing such a good job of getting over throughout this entire G1. It's good that he wins these kinds of matches, especially against a guy like Kenta who has a super long history and, you know, is very well respected. So this one was a really enjoyable match to me. I know, like I said, not everybody's going to enjoy it, but I thought the stuff on the outside looked really good, and, you know, I loved ELP getting the win because I love ELP, so enjoyable stuff. Ren Narita versus Sonata. This match wasn't perfect, but it really had its moments. Sonata is working as this big guy who the littler guy in the match always has to work down and take away that power, and I think it works really well for him. During this match, you could definitely see some of the issues people were talking about with Ren, how he just doesn't really stand out as much as the other two Musketeers do. And that doesn't mean that he's bad. I think he's still very solid. Like, a lot of his offense in this match looked really good to work over Sonata and, you know, take down that power, like I said. But he's just kind of uninteresting at times, and I think he's close to finding that thing, you know, that makes him stand out. But for right now, you know, he's just kind of there among the Musketeers, but I think over time he'll definitely get going just like they have because he has the raw skill to stand out just like they have. Overall, this is a pretty solid match. It took a second for these two to gel, but once they did, it got pretty solid and had its moments. Sonata's been on a really good run during this closing stretch of the G1, this latter half of the block stage, and I think during the playoffs he's going to show people why he's the champion, because I've seen a lot of those moments. I've seen them come more and more as the tournament's gone on, and I'm really excited to see his run in the playoffs. So, yeah, but for this match, it was pretty good. Will Ospreay versus Kazuchika Okada. The tension in the air during this match was unlike any other one that we've seen throughout the G1. The crowd was waiting on bated breath for the bell to ring, and you could just tell that this matchup was so different compared to everything else. They were starting slow with some simple exchanges, but then Okada pushed Will's buttons with an attempted chop, and we absolutely kicked into gear with a Will chop on Okada that sounded like absolute death. He had a couple of those this match, and they sounded so good. And right after that, he took flight, and we were just away at this point. These two were moving so damn fast, and that 20-minute time limit really added such a sense of urgency between these two, because I know their matches are always long. And when I heard how fast those time calls were coming, and I just was oblivious to them being even close, I knew that I was watching a banger. The counters and reversals that they were pulling out were so fucking smooth, which I know is to be expected from two wrestlers of this, you know, level, but they just have so much chemistry, and it left me in awe every time. The money clip being used in the closing stretch of this match I thought was perfect. I think it threw a lot of people off, kind of including myself, because when I saw Will fading, it was either he was going to fade there or he was going to win, and eventually he did get the win. You know, he pulled off the Stormbreaker, beat Okada straight up clean, no interference, no nothing, and I was just so happy to see that. While the 20-minute time limit definitely added a certain pace to this match that made it so fun to watch, it definitely hurt the overall score because they couldn't build the big Ospreay finally defeating Okada win as much as they should have, because they just didn't simply have enough time, and they didn't have enough time to deliver that 5-star banger that they so easily could have. So I'm really excited to see if they do end up facing in the playoffs, because I think with the more time, it could be so, so, so good. Like, I know that it not being a 5-star match is a little bit underwhelming, but is it really underwhelming if it's this damn good? Like, this level of match is like underwhelming. Like, that's just an insane bar. But yeah, it was a little bit underwhelming because, I know so many people, including myself, wanted that 5-star match, but they just didn't have the time. And I think that'll build to the next match that they have, like I said. This match was a certified top 5 match of the G1 so far, probably even top 3. The drama alone would have made it that way, I can't even lie. But the chemistry they have makes everything they do in the ring just so great and so fun to watch. And this was just an amazing way to close out Night 9, and I loved it a lot. Overall, at the top of Night 9, it was absolutely amazing, but some of the stuff outside of that was pretty mid, so I'm kind of wondering how Night 10 is going to follow it up, and I'm saying that as though I don't already know, but I do already know because I just watched it, so we're just going to get right into it. David Finlay versus Hanare, this was quite possibly the most by-the-numbers match you could ever have, and I was kind of disappointed because I do want to see both these guys do better than this, and like it seemed like a good matchup, but really just nothing came from it. And I finally understood people's criticisms of David Finlay, like his tough guy shit, because it just didn't work here at all. Because you're facing a guy like Hanare, and like he's definitely like obviously going to be tougher than you. He doesn't do anything to be a tough guy like Coughlin or definitely Gabe Kidd do. So like he ends up just being a guy that's a little rude. Like it doesn't really work for me. Hanare has also looked noticeably slower as this G1 has gone on, and I'm honestly going to give him the benefit of the doubt and chalk that up to his matches being against Evil and Finlay, because I've seen him do so much better this G1, and when he came back, he just looked so good. I just think he can't with those guys. Finlay didn't give him shit, Evil stinks, but like if he still has a bad match against Ishii or like just an okay match, because I want that match to be great. I have really high expectations for that one. My opinion of him changes, but until then, we'll just focus on this match for now. But this wasn't necessarily a bad one in terms of quality, and it was just like pretty bland outside of that, so I can't help but just kind of like hate on it, but it really wasn't that bad. Now you want to talk about matches that were really bad. We started out with them pointing out how Yano's stomach was just like bloated, but he just probably had like a lot of pasta and stuff, and like he had the beer, that he had hidden away. He was probably drinking that, and I don't know why they were calling attention to that. Like, it was just not very kind of them, to be honest. All jokes aside, though, there was only 2 things that I thought during this match. One, imagine taking Cobb's moonsault to the knees. I feel like that would just destroy my knees. Like, I kind of have weak knees. Like, if I'm at the gym, I can definitely feel it, but I think my knees would get obliterated. And 2, this one might be kind of important. Why did Cobb lose to Toru Yano? Why did Yano roll him up and win? Why did he? What's going on here, man? I don't care if it wasn't clean. I don't care if he sprayed shit in his eyes. I don't care. I don't care at all. Why did Cobb lose here? I was not. No, that's not okay. I don't even know what to say about that. This match was not good because it's a Yano match. Jeff Cobb still is him. I've enjoyed his matches the past 3 times. This was not good. I can't believe he lost. I have to move on. I can't do this anymore. Oh boy. We're getting real exciting here. We went from a bad match to a mid match, and a disappointingly mid match because I wanted this to be a lot better. This was just another by the numbers match that wasn't incredibly noteworthy at all. And I thought when Mikey slapped Eddie super hard to start the match, I thought that would set the tone. But no, they just had a solid wrestling match, and I expected more out of these two, to be honest. One thing you noticed during this match too is that Mikey was not afraid to like call his spots. I heard him call a DDT at one point. It sounded like he just yelled it out. And then one other time, he just asked Eddie if he was alright and pretty much like signaled to do the finish. So that was weird. I don't know why he was doing it so loud. But I was just like, this match was fine, but I was just disappointed. I wanted more out of this because both guys have had their moments this G1, especially like Eddie and Mikey had that insane match against Tanare. I can't believe this was so mid, but it just was. Wow, this night is truly amazing because we have another mid match on our hands. This honestly just felt lifeless at times, just like a lot of this card has. Naito's long entrances do not work, by the way. They are just a bore. And I like that he's a little troll. I think that's pretty funny, but just, Jesus Christ, it was so fucking long. I enjoyed Coughlin reining in his aggression a bit more and taking a more measured approach to Naito matches because, he was like learning from his mistakes. But there was just like not really any of that. It just felt like they could have played so much more into that, but they just didn't. They chose not to, and it barely played a role, and it just made this match feel so like made it feel so whatever. This was another match that just felt like it was well worked, but like not great. Like it was just so mid. It was just so mid. Like this match felt stuck at half speed and half effort, and I was not fucking with it. This is the first time Coughlin disappointed me as well. Just showing like not much life in him, just not showing much personality, and I thought he was doing a pretty good job at that before, but not in this one. This left me so deflated. This run of matches, no, I need a savior. I need a savior now. When I asked for a savior, I didn't mean evil. I didn't want that. Or maybe I did. And there was cheating in this match, which you know that I hate. But unlike in other ones, this cheating felt a bit more unique and creative, and that's honestly something. Before we get too far, I don't think I mentioned it this entire G1, but Ishii's walk to the ring is just so funny to me. Like, it's equal parts goofy and hard as shit, and I love it every time. But, you know, aside from Ishii walking to the ring, this match was pretty good. That's honestly saying something, and this match even had ref spots, which of course it did because it's an evil match. And I know a lot of people say that the American refs are dumb for the kind of shit they do and like the stuff that they don't see, but I think the dumbest possible ref are refs during evil matches. They're just blind and deaf. Even if like Dick Togo is rolling out of the ring super fast, like he went light speed out of there, use your context clues, guys. What are we doing? The crowd did feel more alive for this match more than any other matches so far, which is pretty surprising, but it's honestly just because they hated Evil and Dick Togo so much and just wanted them to lose. But it made this match so much more fun. It was just a little bit of life in this card. Thank God. You know, I wouldn't even think I'd say that for any Evil match. I wouldn't have never expected myself to say that. But thank God for an Evil match right now, because it kind of saved the vibes currently. At the moment, it saved the vibes. You know, this match might have had the vibes, but we were definitely going down the Evil checklist. You know, the ref went down, Evil was grabbing him, he pushed him around, he was just so mean to Marty Asani. I think it's how you say his name. It's probably not, but, you know, he was so mean to him. And Dick Togo low-blowed Ishii to get the win. We were just checking each Evil note off. It's the same thing every time. For the most part, Evil matches don't really do anything for me. They make the refs and sometimes the wrestlers look really stupid, and like Ishii did some cool stuff, like he elbowed a chair to counter it, which was really cool, but he definitely should have won. Evil did not need another win, maybe ever, even though this match was like enjoyable and I had fun watching it. You know, Ishii was doing a great job of being that underdog babyface that the crowd just wanted to win so bad. Yeah, Evil had his first watchable match this G1, and I gotta give him props for that. Ishii's so good. He's gonna be good every time. This match was more life than anything else I'd seen so far on this card, and that's crazy to me because it's an Evil match, but, you know, that's what it was. Pretty good stuff. Shane Hayes versus Zack Sabre Jr. We finally picked up. We finally had a good match. I like this a lot. I haven't mentioned also, you know, just like Ishii's walk, Shane Hayes has a goofy little hat, and I think that's funny to me because Jericho also has a goofy little hat, and I wonder if they're ever going to have like a goofy little hat off. But the TMDK Young Lion came out with Shane Hayes and then decided to go to the back and come out with Zack Sabre because he's not taking sides. And I thought that was a very cute little touch. These two also tried to make him choose his favorite at the beginning of the match, and he was very neutral. He's a smart little youngin', and I really thought that was funny. That was a cool-ass moment. This match got going after all that, though, and I love how much they communicated during the match. Like, it just felt like two homies that were just, you know, scrapping it out. But then Shane hit Zack with a tough kick in the back, and Zack was pissed. Like, he was trying to apologize, but Zack was not going to have it. He was going to get equal. And I love how both guys just got more and more serious as this went on, but they also maintained a level of respect, like when Shane didn't throw Zack into the guardrail. I thought that was such a cool dynamic, and it worked really well in this match. They made this feel so unique with the psychology, and the in-ring work was just on par with that level that they set. They were trading blows back and forth. You know, that slap fight in the middle of the ring was super hard hitting, and it was super dope. But once we turned to submission wrestling, Sabre had such a clear edge, and that's how he won, transitioning a submission into a roll-up. And I really enjoyed this friendly match between two guys that played their friendship up so well. They just had a lot of respect for each other while also going super hard because, you know, they're both fighters. They both want the win. This was great stuff. I don't know if it was the best. Yeah, it was definitely the best match of the night. This was a huge highlight for me. Shingo Takagi versus Tama Tonga. This match held my attention the whole way through and left me with a super shocker draw result that I really enjoyed. This match was definitely the second best on the night, and I had a lot of fun watching it, honestly. Tama Tonga was moving quick. He stepped his shit up this match. Shingo wasn't moving as much as him, of course. Kind of just, he got going when it was spot time. But when he'd move, it worked so well, and I like that kind of dynamic, you know, the older guy facing off against the younger guy who kind of just steps up to prove he can beat him. I think that's pretty cool. Was it as good as any of those A-block draws? No, not really. I felt like both guys could have done a bit more to make it feel like a true time limit banger. And if they did that, it would have built up to the finish even better, which was pretty lackluster and kind of felt like one of them fucked it up because it seemed like it was supposed to be, oh wow, the bell rang during the count, or like it was supposed to be they should have beaten the count, like, or should have beaten the bell with the pin. I don't know. It was really weird and it did not look good. Someone fucked up during that, and it kind of drawn the match down a good bit for me just because, like, that looks so shit, to be honest. Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Hiroki Goto. I'll say that even though these guys are a bit older and can't really have a match up to their, like, older standards, they still know how to get a crowd into it. Tana can't move all that well, and we saw that throughout this match. It was kind of just like with every minute that passed, he got a little bit slower and a little bit sloppier, but that's just kind of what he is at this point, and that's what he's been this G1 every time that I've seen him. Like, he's still not a bad wrestler. I don't want to turn any of his stuff off, even though he's like a bit older. Like, I'm not at that point at all. But not being able to lace up your boots all the way because your legs have so much protection is crazy to me. Like, you gotta go get that shit fixed, bro. Like, that's awful. That's not good. This match was pretty solid. It wasn't great or anything. Both guys are just a bit older, and it showed with how easily their sequences fell apart and became disjointed. But overall, like, it was just pretty fine. The crowd being into it definitely helped it out a good bit, but yeah, these guys are just, they're at that point, you know? Overall, this might have been the worst two nights of the G1 so far. I think, like, you know, they had the highs of night 9, and those were really good, but, like, everything else, all other, what is that, 14 matches were just, like, pretty alright to mid to, like, pretty bad, which is, like, all over the place, but usually there's a few more bangers scattered in there to kind of save it, and it's just kind of because this G1 is just so huge. There's just some of these matches I just don't care to see at this point. But yeah, outside all of that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all those things you're supposed to do on YouTube, and I'll see you guys for nights 11 and 12. We're almost to the end of the G1. I'm going to cover the playoffs. I'm going to do my analysis. I'm going to do everything, so stick around, and yeah, guys, have a good one, and peace out.